This is Mark Robins. In January 1990, Robins' FA Cup winner for Manchester United against Nottingham Forest changed footballing history. Under pressure, without a trophy since arriving in 1986 and his team struggling in mid-table, defeat would, legend has it, cost Manchester United manager Alex Ferguson his job. United, however, went on to win the FA Cup that season and 24 other major trophies under Ferguson. Ferguson's success, however, was sparked not by Robins' famous goal, but by a surprise phone call, an unlikely leader, and Ferguson's unwavering faith. By November 1992, United were struggling again. United had let slip a 5-point lead to Leeds in the 91-92 season and had won just 5 of their opening 15 league games in the inaugural Premier League season of 92-93. Pivotal to Leeds' title success was Eric Cantona. Cantona had retired out of frustration at just 25 in December 1991 after receiving a 4-month ban for calling each member of a disciplinary board an idiot after throwing a ball at a referee while playing for Nîmes. However, France coach Michel Platini persuaded him to continue and move to England. Liverpool coach Graham Souness had declined to sign Cantona, saying he didn't want another problem player before a bizarre trial at Sheffield Wednesday proved unsuccessful, leading Cantona to Leeds. Despite just 3 goals in 15 appearances, his creativity proved crucial during the run-in, before his form exploded the following season, scoring 11 goals in 20 games, including a Charity Shield hat-trick to beat Liverpool. However, Cantona's relationship with Leeds coach Howard Wilkinson was deteriorating. Irked by the praise Cantona received, his defiance over defensive work, and his frustration at being subbed or dropped, Wilkinson started to criticise Cantona in the press and at training. Cantona soon handed in a transfer request via a fax that included the line, "The salmon that idles its way downstream will never leap the waterfall." Cantona's move to United, however, only happened by chance. Leeds director Bill Fotherby called United chairman Martin Edwards to inquire over signing left-back Dennis Irwin. Ferguson declined to sell, but when Edwards asked, "Would you take Cantona if I could get him?" Ferguson responded, "Too bloody right I would." Although Ferguson's recollection of the call differs from Edwards, suggesting it was his idea to ask about Cantona, either way, within 2 days the deal was done for just £1 million. The Cantona effect was instant. United lost just once in their next 15 league games, with their new signing providing 6 goals and 6 assists in that time, and United were top by February. United won their final 7 games to secure the club's first league title since 1967. Cantona's arrival was the clear turning point. United managed 1.5 points per game and 1.06 goals per game before his arrival, but 2.3 points per game and 1.92 goals per game for the rest of the season. Overall, Cantona scored 15 times and added 16 assists across 35 league outings for Leeds and United that campaign, before another 18 goals and 12 more assists helped United to an emphatic 1994 title win the following year, adding the FA Cup for a historic double. In an age dominated by rigid 4-4-2s, striker Cantona played more as a number 10, dropping into midfield, finding space between the lines and unbalancing rigid defences. His flair, finesse, vision and movement were not just often unplayable, but completely alien to some English defences of the era. But it was Cantona's off-pitch attitude that proved most influential when reshaping the club. Goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel later highlighted the desire for experimentation Cantona instilled on the training ground as crucial to the team's improvement, while Roy Keane points to Cantona's eternal self-confidence, saying, "Collar up, back straight, chest stuck out, he glided into the arena as if he owned the place." As Wayne Barton writes in King Eric, Cantona's confidence became the team's and his personality became the club's. In January 1995, however, the revolution nearly collapsed. Cantona was sent off at Crystal Palace after kicking out at defender Richard Shaw. On his way down the tunnel, Palace fan Matthew Simmons raced down the stands to fire abuse at Cantona. Cantona lost control and launched himself over the barriers and into the crowd to deliver a flying kick into Simmons' chest. Simmons, who Cantona now disdainfully just refers to as the hooligan, comically later claimed he had shouted, "Off, off, off, go on Cantona, have an early shower." The vile xenophobic abuse he actually hurled at Cantona can't be repeated here. What is now known as the Kung Fu Kick became a major national news story, and the FA eventually imposed a 9-month ban. Cantona was fined £20,000 and was stripped of the France captaincy by coach Aimé Jacquet. Despite Simmons only suffering light bruising and no lasting damage, Cantona also was initially handed a 2-week prison sentence, although that was later reduced to 120 hours of community service on appeal. The following press conference saw Cantona deliver the line,
"When the seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea,"
before walking out to the bafflement of the assembled press. Simmons, who bizarrely was a qualified referee, was later found guilty of using threatening words and behaviour in the incident, incurring a £500 fine and a 12-month football banning order. In a quite ludicrous piece of irony, Simmons leapt over the bench in court to kick and punch prosecutors during his sentencing, which landed him a week in prison. United lost only twice between the Kung Fu kick and the end of the season, but couldn't overhaul Blackburn, who won the title on a dramatic final day, as United could only draw at West Ham. United would then go on to lose the FA Cup final to Everton. Ferguson later conceded that the Cantona incident was a major crisis, and only a fool would say that it didn't cost us the league. Although Ferguson had initially considered sacking Cantona after the Kung Fu kick, he decided to keep faith with his star striker, and it was his astute man management of the player that would help set United up for the next 2 decades. From the start, Ferguson had decided to ignore the player's reputation and judge him solely on their interactions alone. When you're dealing with individuals of unusual talent, it makes sense to treat them differently, Ferguson later explained. Cantona grew to trust Ferguson like he had never trusted Wilkinson at Leeds. Illustrating that extra bandwidth Cantona received, United captain Steve Bruce recalls approaching Ferguson during a civic reception at Manchester Town Hall to complain on behalf of the squad over Cantona's outfit. The other players were forced to wear suits, but Cantona arrived in flip-flops, ripped jeans and a multicoloured overcoat. Ferguson's response was, "Tell them from me, if they can play like him next year, they can all come as Joseph too." Kung Fu kicks aside, Cantona became the model professional at United, and he remained as such during his ban. Even if at one stage Ferguson had to fly to Paris to convince Cantona not to leave for Inter Milan. Ferguson described Cantona as the best prepared footballer I've ever had, and that commitment to training and constant improvement overhauled the club's culture. He'd started by requesting help of youth teamers and a goalkeeper to practice his finishing after training, but others soon joined, and Cantona's extra sessions quickly became another training session entirely. Coming through at the time, the class of '92, which included David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, Phil Neville and Nicky Butt, who would go on to be the basis of United's success for the next 15 years, were captivated by Cantona's drive. Gary Neville, for example, remembers a vast unspoken respect, stating that the young players were desperate to impress Cantona. Ferguson even remembers calling the team in on a Friday night before a game, fearing they would overtrain. Fittingly, Cantona's first game after his ban, a 2-2 draw with Liverpool in October 1995, in which the number 7 provided a goal and an assist, was the first to feature all 6 of the class of '92. United had changed significantly during Cantona's ban, however. With Ferguson focusing on youth, senior players Paul Ince, Mark Hughes and Andrei Kanchelskis were sold without replacements. The season hadn't started well. A 3-1 opening day defeat to Aston Villa had prompted Match of the Day pundit Alan Hansen to suggest,
"You can't win anything with kids."
Cantona was now a leader rather than just one of many experienced senior pros populating the team's spine. Upon his return, Cantona led by example, scoring 14 times and providing 10 assists in 30 games to help secure United's 3rd title in 4 seasons, before scoring the only goal in the 1996 FA Cup final win over Liverpool to complete a second double in 3 years. Cantona would retire again a year later at just 30, this time for good, but his presence had changed the club forever. Despite being a romanticised and fabled figure at United, Cantona's role in developing the club into a trophy-winning juggernaut beyond his relatively short 4-year stay has often gone unrecognised. Emboldened by Ferguson's genius man management, Cantona quietly revolutionised the club's style of play, bred a confidence United had lacked since the 60s, and instilled a culture of constant improvement in the club's golden generation. Mark Robins' famous goal might have saved Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United career, but Eric Cantona made it.